that South Africa's constitution is among the best in the world. We have very forward-thinking laws protecting South Africans. But we know that when it comes to the LGBTI community, these laws, these promises essentially in the constitution aren't always upheld. Won't you introduce us to what we're going to be discussing today by explaining how, despite the fact that we have this fantastic constitution, members of the LGBT community are really slipping through the cracks?
Well, as you said, that we have a wonderful constitution, very progressive, one of the most in the world, and I think it's impressive to many countries, or most countries. But unfortunately, that has not yet translated right through or filtered through to ground level, where people live and where people move every day of their lives. So what we see is that there's still a lot of discrimination and a lot of homophobia going on in our country, unfortunately.
Now, UJ recently held a seminar entitled The Everyday Social Justice for LGBTI. And of course, the seminar covered a variety of topics. Would you be able to give us an overview of why the seminar was necessary and what it tackled?
First of all, the seminar tackled the issue of interracial couples and their experience of how they are viewed by general society every day, and how they experience when they, for instance, want to show shows of affection, and how that is experienced by society. So that was basically the main topic of the presentation and of the study. However, the doctor who presented and who wrote it, he also touched upon hate crimes and the fact that people don't experience full rights in their everyday lives. So we touched upon the topic of hate crimes a little bit as well.
Now, when it comes
you also mentioned why it was necessary. I remember now that you asked that question as well. I think it's very necessary to have these kind of dialogues, because once people are confronted with these issues through dialogues, whether it's in an academic setting or in any other setting, then people start to think about these issues. I think one of the problems is that people don't always think. They go on hearsay and what other people say about things, but they don't think for themselves.
You touched briefly on hate crimes, and we know that corrective rape is a huge issue in South Africa. Now, shockingly, when I looked into this topic, there are very few actual cases going through our justice system when it comes to corrective rape. Very few reported cases, very few of these cases that are being tried. Tell us a little bit about this issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, we see the tendency that many of these cases go unreported. Organizations, LGBTI organizations, pick up on these cases on ground level, but many of them are not reported. There are various reasons that we learned of in the past 2 years. We actually learned a lot. One of the reasons are that people are still afraid of victimization. They fear that if they go to the police and they report these kind of cases, that they are going to be ridiculed or laughed at or victimized. That would be the worst. People also fear that if they go and report a case and the perpetrator is arrested, that perpetrator would soon be set free again. And of course, we know because of the law system, the legal system, people are released on bail. But then often those people stay in the same area as the victim. And the victims then fear that they will be victimized again or being threatened by the perpetrator should they want to continue with the case. That's a second reason. Thirdly, we also learned that often families step in because of the fact that they are being made vulnerable when their family member comes forward and reports such a case. And then all of a sudden families find themselves in the limelight, and they often step in and ask the victim to rather withdraw the case or not report it. And then in the last instance, we also learned that sometimes victims feel, unfortunately, that whenever they report to an organization, they become the next campaign for that organization. And that's unfortunately what happens, because organizations need real life examples in order to advocate and to lobby for these changes in society.